devilish deeds heat up the court.
You devious little denizen of hell.
Why are you talking to me like this?
I don't like what you are. You know you've been acting bad, bad, bad.
Ooh, bad girls you love to hate. Today on Judge Joe Brown.
A picture of dollar bills doesn't stack up against a woman's story about a theft. Billing specialist Jacqueline Durham is suing her daughter for the value of an engagement ring, wedding band, and iPad. Defendant Catherine Sanders denies she stole the plaintiff's property. Now it's Joe time.
Ms. Durham, you're suing your daughter.
Yes.
Ms. Sanders, for some, let's put it this way, wrongful appropriation of personal property.
Yes.
Your defense is you didn't do it. Some other people could have done it.
Yes.
You know, this is under oath, and you are subject to penalties of perjury. Now, November last year, ma'am, you're alleging that your daughter got evicted from her apartment. She had nowhere to go.
Correct.
Your husband didn't want her there, did he?
Not at all.
So you say you literally had to beg him, and he finally agreed. And one of the preeminent conditions was that she'd have to pay rent.
Yes, sir.
Okay. You let her move in.
Yes, he did.
How was she with her regularity and timeliness?
Horrible. The first month, I say first and second month, she was pretty okay. By the third month, she started falling off, paying part, and then skipping months. It got so bad to the point where she just didn't pay at all. And that made him angry because it was only supposed to be a temporary thing.
Your husband doesn't like her attitude, does he?
Not at all. Not at all.
You were thinking of telling your daughter to get out.
Yeah.
But then your daughter, according to your complaint, said that she had found an apartment and needed help.
Yes.
At that time, your husband seems to have changed his attitude and was glad to help.
He was excited to help. He was excited to get her. I finally have a chance to get her out of there. When he allowed her to move in, the room that she stayed in was his private oasis. That was his place to work out.
His cave. His
man cave. He was not happy that he had to give that up. So.
Well, now, how much did you advance to her for that purpose?
She said she needed the deposit in first month.
So how much was that?
That was $860.
Now, you found out something about that somewhat later. What was it?
Well, we found that she kept coming back. We had given her the money on the 3rd of October, and this is now the 14th of October. So we were like, why? He asked me, why is she still coming back? We gave her the money to move. Why is she?
So what did you discover
that
as a
she
result
had,
of this enlightenment, that
that
she was coming back?
She didn't get the apartment, that she spent the money elsewhere.
All
her
right.
and her
now,
child's
husband
father spent the money somehow.
You talked about this on quite frequent occasion and to keep peace in your household.
Yes.
You just said you gotta go.
You gotta go. We had just given her, this was not money that we had just laying around.
Times are hard.
Right.
You say that your emotive state got to the anger point.
Yes, sir, it did.
And you felt it was best that you would not be there when she moved out.
Yes, sir, I did.
Now, who else had been in there at that point in time other than her?
No one else.
Okay.
It was only the three of us and her two kids. My husband was at work at that time, and I knew that she was coming back to get the rest of her things.
So you just left and said,
right,
I don't want to be here.
Right.
So when you come back, something was missing. What was that?
My engagement ring, my wedding band,
wedding bands, and
my husband's iPad 3 was missing.
So your iPad 3, your engagement ring, wedding band from your husband, that was all gone.
Yes, sir, it was.
Now, you contacted your daughter through her Facebook page?
Yes, sir, I did.
And she implied that she stole those items because she needed the proceeds to take care of her kids.
Yes, sir.
Apparently because she no longer had any place to stay.
Yes, sir.
So I see what you're asking. I think you made a basic case, and be sure I will come back to you.
Yes,
okay? Sir. Now, Ms. Sanders,
yes,
you deny all of this, and basically your defense is that all of these other people were coming through there, and one of them must have surely taken it.
I never had a key to the apartment. My sister always had a key to the apartment. Even though, yes, I was staying there, I never had a key. So somebody else
Well, why do you think that is?
I never asked her for a key. I really went.
Well, I mean, your daughter, your son's living with you. I mean, you're in your 20s. I mean, you grew up. So here's the key. Unless what? You know that child is not right.
I never asked her for a key.
A lot of most families probably have had that. One of the siblings or the children just didn't right. All the rest of them are trying to be right. This one lies, steals, tries to get over on everything.
Excuse me.
You're not like that.
I never even asked her for a key. No, I'm not like that. I felt like...
You're not like that?
No, I'm not like that.
Okay, you didn't imply that you needed all the jewelry items or wedding band and
I didn't need that, and I didn't take it. She has no proof.
You didn't take it?
I did not take it.
Well, what do you think she made by implication?
Sir, I don't know. I did not take her stuff.
We'll be right back with Judge Joe Brown.
We had just renewed our vows in May, and he had just gotten that for me, and she knew that, if anything else, that's the part that really killed me. It was my wedding band.
And later today...
I looked in the rearview mirror. A big white car was coming at me at a real good clip. I knew she was going to hit me. So I braced me into, and after impact, she shoved me into a cab in front of us.
It's showtime after this. Bad girls you love to hate today on Judge Joe Brown.
We're back with Judge Joe Brown. The plaintiff in this case says she let her daughter move back in temporarily. She says the defendant paid no rent and stole her engagement rings and husband's iPad on her way out. Let's see what the judge thinks.
Well, now, how are you getting on Facebook?
Off my phone or on the computer.
What computer, or was it an iPad?
Oh, my God. It was a computer. I can go to the library.
Where'd you have the computer?
I can go to the library or go to people's houses and get on the computer.
You go to the library every day?
I was not on the computer every day.
By the way, we have that particular matter loaded up. Why would you steal from us? Why would you do that to me after all we did for you? Why? WAT, W-A-T, which is why I don't think you spend much time in the library, else you wanted me to do. Man, I got 2 kids to take care of, and you really put me out. Man, stop playing. That's not so bad, right? Where do you think your mother got the idea that you did the stealing?
I didn't say yes or no on there.
No, but where do you think she got the idea to make the accusation?
She just said that it was gone. And she said, since she knew that I was going to be there.
Let's go to the other one.
I don't even remember sending these messages. Somebody else got my password.
That's on your Facebook. And fool, once you send it, it never goes away. So, what's that?
Judge, I don't know. But that's not from my Facebook.
Also, Your Honor, when I loaned her the $860, that was supposed to be for her to get her place. I don't know what she did with that money. You know, she took that money and did something with it. And that was only like 2 weeks.
Yeah, but I mean, this is your wedding band and your
but that's the
wedding
thing. That was
set,
my,
you know, I mean, you and your husband don't deserve that.
We had just renewed our vows in May, and he had just gotten that for me, and she knew that's, if anything else, that's the part that really killed me. It was my wedding band and my engagement rings. And I knew she took the iPad only to hurt him.
So who you give it up to? What's his name?
I didn't give it up to nobody. Who is him? I don't have nobody to give it to.
And I bet you're not getting any child support from baby's daddy, or you don't want to turn him in because that would diminish the check that you get.
What
check
child support have to do with anything?
I'm sorry?
Did the check come for her?
The check? I think so. I think so. I know
What
she's
check
not
are
getting
y'all
child
talking
support
about?
for the kids.
The one
no.
you get by hustling the taxpayers like you hustled your mama and daddy.
What check?
You have 2 children.
I don't get a check. I have a job. You don't get checks after that.
Well, then why couldn't you pay rent? And working for
Because I
Mickey
was
D's,
pregnant,
you
I
don't
just
have
had my
that much
child.
money unless you pilfered it from the cash register at Mickey D's.
I just had my child. She didn't put that. When she gave me, I had my child in 2012.
Look. You need to stop.
She's talking about
The
rent.
more
She didn't
you
say
say,
nothing about the money that
the
the
worse
food stamps I was
you
giving her so they could eat.
In the back of my mind, the words like you low-down scoundrel, you cretinous.
Oh my goodness.
Low scum.
She had talked to me so dirty,
You
Judge.
devious little denizen of a lower region of hell.
Why are you talking to me like this? I don't understand.
If you say you don't understand,
I really do like you, Judge, for real.
I don't give a damn whether you like me or not. I don't like what you are.
Judge, you don't know me.
You misappropriated that money that they tried to help you out by letting you go there.
I was helping
Your
them also.
mother and father are having problems about you coming anywhere around. When your mother says she had to go, when father
was not
says
for me,
she's
they would
not
not even
coming
be
back in
eating.
this house,
Them stamps were still rolling in.
that's what I said. The taxpayers are paying for you. So you can't even say something that's obvious straight. You lied to breathe. 3,500 actual, 1,500 punitive. Your full recovery will be 5,000.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
This program is now in recess. The defendant moved out, and so did a few of the plaintiff's treasured items. Bad timing or bad choice?
Where do you get the money?
This struggling mom's story
I'm not lying to you. I'm telling you the truth.
just isn't adding up.
It looks like welfare fraud to me.
A daycare provider tires of a client who doesn't take her kids or their contract seriously. Hair braider Loran Holmes is suing her former daycare provider for breach of contract. Defendant Sonia Harris is countersuing for loss of income. Now it's Joe time.
Listen, Ms. Holmes, you're suing the Harrises, and you allege that they should refund payments you made to them along with some other damages because they terminated your daycare services without notice, which caused you unnecessary expenses.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Now, Mr. and Mrs. Harris, you deny any liability to the plaintiff, and you allege that due to the misrepresentations, you had a severe loss of business opportunity. You're seeking $5,000 on your cross complaint. All right. Now, Ms. Holmes, state your case, please.
Hello,
you have 2
Judge
children,
Joe Brown.
right?
This has come along.
You
Waited
do
to
hair
come and meet
braiding.
you.
You have
Yes,
a
sir.
12-year-old son and a 3-year-old daughter.
Yes, sir.
All right, you enroll those 2 children in her home-based child care facility. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
In September year last, you alleged that without warning, you were informed that the defendant had dropped you as a client.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, you say you had to immediately take time off from your hair braiding business to find a new child care provider. Now, a question. Did either of the defendants inform you of this?
No, sir.
Well, how did you learn of this termination of your relationship?
Since I'm low income, I have child action services that is paid by the state, and I was informed by my worker when I called and talked to her because I hadn't been answering or getting calls answered by Sonia Harris.
How long had she not answered your call?
At least 3 days.
And you had to take off from work. Where were your children?
With my mother.
Well, why would they be with your mother such that when she did not return your calls for 3 days, you then learned from a representative of the agency that she had terminated your relationship with her.
I have shown up at the door and there was no answer, sir.
Doesn't that suggest that you weren't regularly taking the children by there?
Actually, sir, I have a variable schedule, which Miss Sonia was aware of. I can work
variable schedule.
I can work 0 to 7 days a week.
So you had to cancel numerous hair appointments over what period of time?
I believe it was September 26th through the 27th, 28th, around that time.
So in 2 days, you claim you lost a minimum of $500 income in 2 days, and you worked 7 days a week. My goodness, that would be $1,500 bloody dollars in 1 week minimum. Times 4, that's $6,000 a month. And you get public assistance?
No, Your Honor.
Well, then I can do the math. That's what the inference is. So how do you state the basis for the claim of $500?
If you'd like me to start
You
at
want
the
to
beginning.
prove that?
We can drop that part, but I would like to start from the beginning.
Because I'm paying taxes and it looks like welfare
Right.
fraud to me. And by the way, how do they become liable for $1,579.44 for an ambulance bill?
Because the fire department came to my house and they came and picked me up.
What's that got to do with it? What do they have to do with that?
Because I was under strain and stress from...
You're about to get caught and busted and might be put in jail or federally prosecuted from the looks of things. And by the way, you also want damages for having to get alternative child care, right?
Yes, sir.
How?
Because I had to pay out of my pocket the money that I had been saving from working, from slaving, from braiding hair. It's a hard job.
Excuse me, under the guidelines, all you had to do was submit another claim and they would have taken care of paying for that alternative child care provision. So why would you suffer a loss of income because you couldn't get anybody to take care of your children with the state subsidy?
The child care provider, that is the licensed child care provider, is the one that charged me the $850.
And how do you afford, you say you paid it, how do you afford to pay your mama $800 for that period of time when there's some income guidelines that you've already exceeded by your testimony? How does that happen?
Excuse me, sir. Everything that I collect is documented. Everything that I do, I file taxes on it. I've been braiding since 1995.
How much did you claim on your taxes last year?
$14,000.
And you've already claimed that, oh, we're going someplace?
No, I'm having a hard time.
What is your complaint about this? You just out of the blue, they tell you your kids can't come here anymore. No, they don't tell you that. They tell the child care entity that she can't bring these kids here.
Correct. After I was leaving numerous messages for her, calling her numerous times.
Well, when did you leave the children there?
I don't have the exact dates, but it was in September around the 20th. And around the 22nd and 23rd, that's when she stopped answering my phone calls.
Why do you think she did that?
After I came to the door. Because I have a variable schedule, and she wants children that are there that's a full-time or a set schedule. So I can call her if someone calls me and asks to get their hair braided and says, I need you right now. Then I will call my child care provider and ask her, can I bring my kids over right now? I was approved from 0 hours or 0 days a week to 7 days a week. So if I didn't have any clients, then I worked 0 days a week. If I had 7 clients 7 days a week, I would work 7 days. So that, with that schedule being variable and the hours being the hours that they were, that I braid up until 3:30 in the morning, maybe it wasn't comfortable for her. I don't know. That's what I'm here for.
Well, my God, who is expecting for somebody to leave a 3-year-old and a 12-year-old till 3 or 4 a.m. in the morning?
A 24-hour daycare provider. That was our agreement, Your Honor. Before I took her as a child care provider, I told her that.
As per my conversation with Ms. Sonia Harris of September 28th of year last, This letter is to confirm that the last day of payment by Child Action, Inc. was 9/27/09 for the parent and children listed below.
Correct. And do you see the part where...
You have the right to ask families using your services to leave your facility or home for any reason.
We'll be right back with Judge Joe Brown.
She brought her kids, I think, 2 or 3 times. And at that point, I called Child Action. And Child Action, I told them that I wasn't going to keep her kids anymore because she wasn't giving me notice. She would actually walk into my daycare with Mariah and sit there for 5 or 10 minutes and then say, I'm leaving.
The plaintiff says she sent her children to the defendant's daycare facility. She says the defendant didn't give her proper notice and just discontinued their contract. Let's take a look.
Now, you tell me your side of things. I want to hear your cross complaint.
Okay.
What's going on here, please?
Judge Brown, I'm countersuing Loran for $5,270.36. And this is for time that was unused in my child care from February of 09 to September of 09. We talked, and she stated that her schedule was a variable schedule, in which I did understand that at the time because we are 24 hours. But I don't think she understood what 24-hour schedule is. I think that as a business owner, as a hair braider, you have to respect people's time. And if she's going to have clients, she need to let her clients know that I have to be on a schedule. So it really didn't go like that. She wouldn't give me a 24-hour notice. She would call me on a whim and say, I'm bringing my kids in. Most of the time, I would actually take her children into my daycare. Now, there was not ever a time that she knocked on my door and I didn't answer my door. There was never a time. I'm not afraid of her. She doesn't have a gun, or, I mean, what am I intimidated by? Why would I not answer my door to either let her know, look, you didn't call me in enough advance, I took a walk in, so I won't be able to keep your children today. That's just the bottom line of it. So she came to my care from February to May. June and July, she didn't even show up. I don't know what happened to her children during those 2 months. I called Child Action.
Now, you're saying she doesn't even show up for 2 months.
She doesn't even show up. She doesn't call me. There was times, in fact, let me just go push back a little bit.
I live right around the corner.
She wasn't bringing...
Well, you know, it says, hold on, payment will be processed within 10 working days of receipt of attendance form. That's what this is. It's a
Thank
copy.
you very much.
And there's a 2-month absence, excuse me, in this time period where there are no such forms for claim of income. So
Correct.
that seems to corroborate her testimony.
Well, in September, she brought her kids, I think, 2 or 3 times. And at that point, I called Child Action. And I told them that I wasn't going to keep her kids anymore because she wasn't giving me notice. She would actually walk into my daycare with Mariah and sit there for 5 or 10 minutes and then say, I'm leaving.
The business that I'm in, I have no control over when I'm going to braid or when I'm going to work, or if somebody gets off at 3:30 in the afternoon and needs their hair braided and it's going to take 12 hours and I'm done at 3:30. That's why I fought for the time at Child Action for me to get those hours approved, that I can start from the salon that I work through from 9:30 in the morning to 3:30 in the morning. I can take an appointment anytime throughout that day.
She doesn't even have a business license. I checked. She has no business license.
I work for Amici Salon, ma'am. They have a business license.
That you do it at your home?
I do it all over the place.
Now, you've provided the documentation that you had numerous requests from others to provide child care services, but you had to turn them down because she had represented that she was coming by.
Right.
But
and I can't...
the agreement you have with them is until you terminate the relationship, you have to keep that slot open.
Right.
So it's like you got to get totally discommoded because she's got variable hours that are without any notice at all.
Exactly.
You know, I got to bring the kid down there and then don't show up.
Right.
So your complaint's denied. I'm granting your cross complaint. $4,680 in your cost.
Thank you, Your
Honor.
This courtroom is now in recess.
Well, the defendant provided daycare, but they didn't like the childlike behavior of the plaintiff. I'd say the judge agreed. Her case is denied. The defendants take it on the counterclaim.
You're a lowlife. You're the one sitting on the throne trying to tell me I'm a lowlife. You don't know nothing about me.
Ms. Hollis, you and your daughter, Miss Hollandquist, are suing your second cousin, Mr. Harris.
Right.
Your mother, Ms. Douglas, is here as a witness. You, ma'am, allege that when no one would help your second cousin out, you decided to take him in, and he repaid you by stealing a number of gold coins, an iPod Touch, 2 PSPs belonging to some children, and a number of other items. You first, ma'am.
Anthony is my second cousin to my first cousin, my favorite cousin, as a matter of fact. When I learned that Anthony had become homeless when he was living with his grandmother,
Was that you, ma'am?
No.
Another grandmother.
Right. When I learned of it, I said, well, I'm a stable family member. You know, I'll take him in. He was in his last year of high school. I wanted to make sure he graduated from high school. And I took him in. I treated him just like he was my own child. I would give Anthony and my oldest daughter, Miracle, $20 a week for spending money after school to buy snacks or whatever, because they complained about the school lunch. So Anthony came to me and he told me that he lost his $20. And I said, well, I don't have any replace money. And for that, he took the gold coins. And when I spoke to him about it, I said, why did you do it?
Now, the gold coins are interesting. They're these Sacagawea coins.
Right.
You're seeking to acquire those because apparently recently they have assumed a very high value.
Right.
Now, let me hear from you about the rest of these things. You have a 9-year-old and a 9-year-old.
I have twins. I have twins that are 9, and then I have an 11-year-old.
Now, the other items, the PSPs, those belong to those 3 or 2?
2.
2. All right.
One to
Do you
the
have
11.
any information about the circumstances of the disappearance of those items?
Yes. After Anthony stole the coins, and he admitted it to me as well.
He says he got 5 of them.
Yeah, 5.
No.
That's, well, hold on. That's his admission.
Okay.
How many do you say he took?
28.
28.
And also,
28. All right, I got it. 28.
Sorry.
He says 5. All right, keep going.
I was at work, and Anthony came by. He asked the children, can he see their PSP, the charger, and a game? Once he left, my 11-year-old called me, and she was crying, and she said, Mommy, I think Anthony took my PSP. I said, look, I'm on my way home. We'll look for it together.
Well, anyway, to make a long story short, you could not find it, and you say that he ultimately, in effect, confessed to taking the items. All right? Now.
Okay, well, while Anthony was still living with us, he asked me one day, he was going to the store, if he could see the iPod in question so he could listen to music on his way there and on his way back. I said, sure, go for it. I was at home reading a book. After he left, he called my mom and told her that he was, quote unquote, jacked for the the iPod Touch. And then
somebody heisted it from him.
Right.
Your Honor, can I say something, please? While he went to the store, I had left the house to go purchase him a brand new bed. Because, again, I was treating him just like he was my own child. Anthony calls me.
I'm sorry, she's just sitting here lying.
Hold on, wait, did you not get?
Well, I understood what you said.
Well, then act on it and keep your mouth shut.
All right, Your Honor.
Okay, Your Honor. I had left the house to go purchase Anthony a new bed. Anthony called me via his own cell phone and says he just got jacked.
In other words, somebody took the item from him.
Correct. And I said, Anthony, you're calling me from your cell phone. And he goes, yeah, it was in my pocket. I said, wait a minute. When you get jacked, they're going to pocket check you first.
Hold on. It makes no difference because you get substituted from theft. You get the concept of a bailment that then arises. So I won't go into that right now, but in either situation, the result would be the same. Now, ma'am, what do you have to offer to this mix?
I was just there watching the way Anthony, he was good with the little kids, you know, helping them out and stuff. And when it comes time for things to be stolen, he has that little quirk about him, you know? He has a way of figuring out a way when he goes around with his hands. He's very, very manipulative with
Called
his hands.
sleight of hand.
Yes, ma'am.
Way of making things disappear.
Yeah.
Now you see it, now you don't. Ready to go.
Exactly.
Very good. All right, now hold your point. I'll come back to you, both of you. Now pass up your documentation, Madam Sonia. Would you be so kind? Thank you. Now, Mr. Harris, you have the floor.
Yes, Your Honor. Let me start with the iPod Touch, which it wasn't an iPod Touch. It was a regular video iPod. It was an 80 gig iPod. And we obtained that iPod because we were shopping at Petco for some dogs that we had just found off the street, and she wanted to take care of them. So we went to Petco, and she found the iPod in the purse, along with the ID and along with credit cards, and there was a wallet in the purse. And I wanted the iPod bad, I'm not going to lie about it, so I asked if I can have it, along with Miracle asking if she can have it. When Sunday came to the conclusion that it was going to be the family's iPod, that's how it was going to be. I left it at that. We moved to Palmdale. I asked Miracle if I can use the iPod because I was going to walk to go see my girlfriend. And she said, yeah. While walking with the iPod, yes, I got jumped and the iPod got stolen from me. I also came back with the headphones. Sunday accused me of selling the iPod, and I told her there's no way I could sell an iPod without selling the headphones and without selling the charger.
We'll be right back with Judge Joe Brown.
When she did get at me about the coins, and I did tell her that I took a couple of the coins, she did admit to me that her kids told her that they were playing with the coins because they thought that they were Chuck E. Cheese coins.
Go ahead.
The coins. I did admit to Sunday that I did take 5 of the coins when she did call me.
Why did you take 5 coins?
Because my money was taken from me, Your Honor, and I was off at that, Your Honor. I'm not going to lie to you. So I did take 5 of the coins because 5 of my dollars was missing from me, and I agreed to Sunday that I was going to pay her back the $5, and I did pay her back the $5. Yes, I paid you back the $5. The PSPs, I did ask her kids if I can use the PSP. I asked them if I could play the game that was on the dresser. They looked for the PSPs and they couldn't find them. A couple days later, she called me saying that I had took the PSPs and I wasn't allowed over at her house, and that I need to apologize or pay for it or something like that. I told her that, well, when she finds the PSPs, then I'll be waiting for her apology. And that was that.
Your Honor, may I speak, please?
It's not necessary.
Okay.
Not necessary.
As far as the coins, and might I add, when she did get at me about the coins, and I did tell her that I took a couple of the coins, she did admit to me that her kids told her that they were playing with the coins because they thought that they were Chuck E. Cheese coins. And yeah, they told you that, and you told me that over the phone. I don't know why you're trying to act like it's a surprise. It's not a surprise. Well, that's pretty much it, Your Honor.
All right. Have you ever felt petroleum jelly, motor oil?
Yes.
Feels just like slime.
Ooh.
The kind of theft you are guilty of is slime.
I'm not guilty of any kind of
That's a nice way of putting it.
Well, I'm not guilty of any
that
kind of
makes you slimy. Your character stinks so badly that it would not even suffice to be disguised by the odor from an overripe dumpster doing a garbage strike that's been out there in the middle of July in 105-degree heat for a whole month.
Yes.
It would overwhelm the stench of a graveyard that was undug. You are a pathetic, miserable, lousy specimen of
You're not
slime.
talking about me.
Okay. And I'm talking to you, and by the way, leave. You are a lowlife that
You're a lowlife. You're the one sitting on the throne trying to tell me I'm a lowlife. You don't know nothing about me. What do you know about me?
Okay, you know what?
Wait. Tell the fool what his problem is. He's not going anywhere because you're under detention. Stop him before he gets off of the place.
Proceedings?
Yeah, right.
Now, let me tell you what I'm doing. Since he absented himself, there are several separate instances of misconduct, tortious misconduct, thievery. One involves each of the 2 PSPs, that's 1. Your iPod Touch, that's 2. Your coins, that's 3. What I'm going to do is $399 iPod Touch on yours and $2,500 in punitive damages. That's to your cause of action, Miss Miracle Hollandquist, right?
Yes.
Now, ma'am, relative to your coins, I'm only going to take the nominal face value. That's $28. On top of that, I'm giving you a nice total of $4,800 in punitive damages. Portable PlayStation, including the associated games. So for the benefit of your children, I'm going to make that another $750 in punitive, along with the $187.
Thank you.
So that'll be your award accordingly. By the way, don't get him out of jail. Let him stay down there.
Oh, no, Your Honor. This courtroom is now in recess.
The defendant interrupted the woman who took him in as if he had vital information that might contradict her story. When it was his turn, he did not impress or enlighten anyone. He'll pay.
It's time for Judge Joe.
An act of God wipes out a woman's stuff and gives her landlord someone to blame. Plaintiff Natasha Adams is suing her landlord for damaged property. Defendant Tuan Tran says the damages are not his responsibility. Now it's Joe time.
Ms. Adams, you're suing your former landlord, Mr. Tran, for $25.85. You say several of your personal items were damaged when a bedroom was flooded due to an improperly built room.
Yes, sir.
The defense, Mr. Tran, is that the lease specifically stipulates that acts of God are not subject to compensation by the landlord. And we're talking about locally when we had that very, very heavy rain last week or so of December, I believe.
Yes,
a couple of
yes,
weeks
sir.
of December. Please explain your complaint, ma'am, if you would.
Okay, well, when I moved into Tuan's house, he promised me he was going to fix this and this and that.
Fix
he
what
never
now?
did. Like repairs, he's supposed to fix the sprinklers on the outside.
Okay, the sprinklers in the yard.
Which
there
I
was
wasn't in
one
a hurry.
toilet that needed some work, apparently.
Oh, my
Interior
God.
paint. Hold on, let me see if I've got this. And replace certain tiling.
Yes.
That's when you moved in March of year last, and I believe this was a Section 8 situation, and you were paying $400 of the $1,300 rent, and the state of California was paying the balance of the $1,311. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Now, we come to December 21st of last year. What happens?
Okay, December 21st, I had a housing inspection. So when I woke up that morning to go get the kids up because they were off track, my son's room was flooded. The whole room was flooded.
Now, let me ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
You say that this was a patio that had been enclosed.
Yes.
Now, was it supposed to be a bedroom, or you just used it as a bedroom?
I don't know. When I moved in the house and he said he had a 3-bedroom house with a bonus room. It was an enclosed patio, but all he was going to do was fix the floor. But the previous tenants that lived there before I did, it was a room. They used it as a room also.
They use it as a room. Now,
Yes.
we're talking about an 11-year-old, 15, and 17-year-old. Your 20-year-old is, I take it, not living with you, or is that an
Yeah, my
incorrect-
20-year-old is still living with me. She was pregnant at the time.
Why wasn't she with her husband or whatever it may be? Oh, she doesn't have one.
Correct.
Continue, please.
Okay, so I had the 2 girls in the room, and my oldest daughter was pregnant, was in there, and my son was in the enclosed patio. And I had been telling Tuan the house is too small, and also I had been telling housing the
Telling
house
him the house is too small?
Yeah, I wanted to move. I wanted him to fix the repairs in my house. I know I'm not the only person. I've never yelled at him.
Your house is too small, so I want to break the lease agreement because I chose to have my son come back and live with me. And my 20-year-old daughter, who ought to be with a husband, is pregnant out of wedlock, so that'll be a grandchild, a daughter, a son, a daughter, and a daughter, and your place is too small. I need to break the lease. But let's get to the case.
Okay, the case is the room flooded. I have videotapes of it, of everything. You know.
Wait. What about this part of your lease that says acts of God are not covered by the landlord?
First of all, I never signed a lease. That's not my signature on the lease, if you can see. And
He
I never
forged your
had a
signature.
copy. No, I didn't say he forged my signature.
Well, your son signed it on your behalf.
Because I was not there.
But you're still subject to the terms and conditions of the occupancy.
Well, I've never seen a lease.
You say he should be responsible for damage and mildew to your clothes, but in your complaint you specifically say that because of the flooding due to the weather, you use your clothes to sop up the water. Now, how is he responsible for that?
First of all, the clothes were in a bag. I did not know there was a hole in the bottom of the bag. The clothes were soaking wet when I checked the bag.
Well, why didn't you say that in your complaint instead of my clothing, my son's clothing was damaged because I used them to soak up the water?
And since they were already wet, I put them on the floor and I washed them myself. I wasn't even going to sue this man because I know it's not his fault.
Why don't you just wash the wet clothes?
I did. I washed everything. Why he couldn't come help me clean up his house? He couldn't even call me. He didn't even apologize to me.
Why should he apologize?
It's his house, his property.
But you have a lease.
I did not know his house was faulty. I did not know it was built wrong.
It's not faulty. Everybody had problems.
But the whole point is...
So why should he come over when his lease doesn't require it and be nice and sop this up? And by the way, I looked at your pictures. The television is on a stand. How does it get water damage?
Okay, as you can see...
I looked at your pictures where, how do we get a VCR down on the ground to get water damage?
It's his room. You can't put nothing on the floor. He's 17. Everything has to be put up on stands.
His Xbox is on the floor, not on the shelving that I see in your pictures. His cell phone was on the floor. The VCR is on the floor. His games were on the floor. And miscellaneous items are on the floor of his room. You're supposed to be mama. You don't go to work. Didn't you teach your son how to deal with good housekeeping? What's 17 got to do with it?
He's 17. I go in there and I clean up after him.
So a 17-year-old is beyond your control and... you know, he's totally tacky. He just throws everything on the floor instead of putting it on the shelf.
You can say that. That's why he didn't live with me. Yeah, you can say that.
We'll be right back with Judge Joe Brown.
That property, because he's a new owner, that property has had several code enforcement violations. The city has been out there several times for that property.
When?
Before Twine owned it.
The plaintiff in this case says the home she rented was so shoddy and in need of repairs that when it rained, her son's room flooded and their belongings were destroyed. She's suing her landlord for damages. Let's get back to the case.
Okay, tell me about this.
Yes, Your Honor. According to the lease, I'd like to pass up my copy of the lease.
Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to call your attention to the first page, the paragraph number 5. It says that the tenants are allowed to have 4 people.
Yes, it was an unauthorized tenant. The premises shall not be occupied by any person other than those designated and shown as a tenant herein, with the exception of the following named people: Naya Eddington, Zani Adams, Zakia Adams. Oh, by the way, you're in violation of California welfare laws. The person you have in there is not authorized to be a beneficiary of the tax dollars.
Yes.
You know what? You're in...
They added my son back on housing.
With you? You are confessing under oath, young lady, to welfare fraud.
Welfare fraud? I don't receive welfare.
Yes, because the documentation that I guess your son signed it for you says that only the designated individuals are entitled to be present or live in the premises. So you have occupants that are not authorized under California welfare law to be in there. You breached his lease. That's point 1.
How? When housing put him back on my lease?
Well, he's not on there.
The court gave him back to me October 20th.
He's
and
not
the
on
housing
there.
Put him back on my housing.
He's not on there. Does she understand she's testifying that she breached the lease and she's in default?
The lease. Oh my God, because my son is back living with me.
May I ask one more thing?
Certainly.
Through the housing authority, assistance from County Riverside, to receive this one, and in order for the property to be eligible for this program, the housing authority had to come in to inspect the house. And
I'm aware of that.
And inspect annually. And these conditions they have right now, they are not the pre-existing conditions. It was approved and passed by the housing authority once you move in.
Yesterday, I went to the city and I went down to City Hall and they researched it. That property, because he's a new owner, that property has had several code enforcement violations. The city has been out there several times for that property.
When?
Before Twine owned it. The fence was never fixed. I have pictures of the fence in the backyard.
Before he owned it, he acquired it and he renovated it, and it passed inspection last year.
Well,
so
the city
that's
be contacting
what we do when we get with the entrepreneurial thing.
Okay, the city be contacted him. I'm just saying the city will be contacted him.
Oh, how? Oh, you're gonna have? I'll have vengeance.
I wouldn't even do Twine like that. I'm not even mad at Twine. I've never yelled at this man. I've never cussed at my owner. He's never done nothing to me. Nothing,
now,
anything.
wait a minute. You see, we haven't even got into the other side of it. Let's talk about, you're here a victim again. Now, let's see. December 21st, 2010, on his business record, sworn accounting, around 7 p.m., he gets a call from your daughter, not you, that the enclosed patio was flooding. There was a demand that you come immediately. What goes on is an advisement that due to the weather, and since it was raining heavily that whole week, it was suggested that any furniture which on his last inspection, once you were in there, consisted of a few tables and a chair or two out of the patio. It's raining the whole week, so what is he supposed to do? You were advised, or at least your daughter was advised, that management would be there the following Sunday, December 26th. This call was on December 21st, if the weather permitted.
Which I understood.
He arrived on that Sunday and did an inspection and left. He returned January 2nd with a worker he had contracted with and instructed that individual what to do. The following week, you were contacted and you refused to let the worker in.
That's not true. They came on the 11th.
So you ended up doing the cleaning yourself, which in your own complaint says was done by taking the clothes in question to sop the water up. That's what you say. You changed it around, but that's all right.
That's not true.
So
no,
you know
at 10:30
what? You
in the
don't
morning.
state a case because the lease excludes him from liability from acts of God. So end the deal. You're not a victim. Denied. No.
This courtroom is now in recess.
Well, it turns out in the end, this one is on God. The rain came, the room flooded. Take it up with the big guy. It's not the defendant's fault. This claim is denied.
Please raise your right hand.
Business owner Michael Demetrio Sr. is suing his son for a loan paying off a dirt bike. Defendant Eric Demetrio says no one asked the plaintiff to pay off the loan.
Sir, you're suing your son over here. It looks like you have been moved to the point where you're fed up. I think you're trying to make a point here.
Certainly do, Your Honor.
All right, now let's see. We're talking about one dirt bike that you wound up, was it co-signing on?
Yes, sir.
Now, the defense from your son over here is interesting. He sold the bike to his brother. Are you the brother? Yes, sir. Come on up. You paid your younger brother a good sum of money and you got nothing. Not one payment at all of what your brother gave to you to the finance company.
Right. And I've been waiting over a year.
Yeah, hold on. Now over here, you're trying to say somehow or another that you're a little peeved with your father?
It's because the promissory note had other stipulations in it versus the phone conversation he and I had and agreed on.
All right, sir, you're here to make your point. Make it.
Back in 2002, Your Honor, I believe a couple of months, 2-3 months before, I don't have the exact date, before he got married, he approached me. He wanted me to cross-sign for this dirt bike. Me, my wife, and him went down to the shop. He was buying a dirt bike worth about $4,600 to $4,800. The credit that I gave him, the $400 credit, because the selling price, the agreed selling price to him, it was $2,000. $700 less than what he owned the bike.
Well, hold on a second. Did you give him $2,000?
I gave him 16 and told him he wouldn't see the last 4 until I got a paperwork for
Then
it.
you got the pink slip. All right, so what happens is, I'll fast forward it a little bit since you're here to make a point, that you got contacted by a collection agency, right?
No. During those 5 years, during that contract that he had for 5 years, I was keep asking him, Eric, I don't want my credit to be messed up. What are you doing with it? That, don't worry, I've only been late in 1 or 2 payments. When he paid the $1,600, during that time I was keep telling him, make him provide a pink slip because I knew the bike wasn't paid. So finally, when he paid the $1,600, he took off. He did not give him the last payment.
No pink slip.
No pink slip either, Your Honor.
Why? Because the finance company had not been paid off.
I then waited 7 months. During the 7 months, here I come again and I ask him, what are you doing with the bike? This matter needs to be taken care of because, again, now I'm finding out it's a charge off in my account.
We'll be back with more Judge Joe Brown in a moment.
This man told his son that he should go kill himself.
I did.
Because I
hey! I did.
We're back with Judge Joe Brown. The plaintiff in this case says his son was trying to get a dirt bike and needed help, so he co-signed on a loan. He says the defendant fell behind on payments, then lied about it, sending the account into collections. Let's take a look.
The sum that you paid off would now be worth, computed to last month, $4,276.
Yes, sir.
And actually, you seem to have compromised with them so they didn't get the full amount.
Your Honor, I consulted with my wife, and we decided after the 7 months to give him 10 working days to come up with some proof. Guess what, Your Honor? No proof.
So what did you do?
I got mad, put my wife on the phone, she paid the bike off.
That's nice of you.
He got off work that night. I called him on the phone and I said, this is the issue we have here. I gave you all the time that I could, no more. So you need to pay it. I hear on the background, Your Honor, he cross-signed. He's responsible. It's his problem.
Oh, that's your daughter-in-law?
Yes, sir.
And that's a lot.
But then again, he agreed to pay it. He says the best I can do is $100 a month, or maybe more when I can. It's the day he comes over, April 19th, he gives me $100 cash. Who left it open? No date. Couple of weeks later, I want a commitment from this guy that's been lying to me for 7 years now.
Now, what do you have to say?
Back in 2002, yes, he did co-sign on a bike for me. Yes, I was making payments. The only thing I can say about the late payments and not making the payments is, Your Honor, life happens. I lost my job. I wasn't able to keep the payments up. When I was able to make the payments...
Well, why'd you lie to him?
Lie to him about what?
Excuse me, Your Honor, I got to jump in on this one. He lost his job, he's got no money, but he's got money to go to Georgia for 1 week.
I am not.
Dukes of Hazzard's showdown.
This is the point. Let me get past all this flack. Forget that. What he's trying to do is he's old school. So he's concerned about whether his sons are going to display the proper attributes for being men.
I don't need his help being a man.
Oh, yes, you do. That one thing that could have happened is if you'd been straight up with him, he'd have given you some slack, but you deceived him to his detriment. Now, what do you have to say about it, since you're the one heard in the background? He co-signed it, so let him pay for it.
Because this is typical.
What?
This man told his son that he should go kill himself.
I did.
Because I
did. Well...
So don't you get in the way of father trying to make a man out of his son.
Well,
now, you get this. Now, when are you going to be a man? You have a son at home.
Been.
You look, you got the same deal with your son that you had with him. See, it goes up and down. You got a compact as son to dad. Dad has to you. He came through. You didn't come through with him. So you got a bad precedent, because that means you may not come through for your son. Plus, guess what? What goes around comes around.
Judge Joe Brown makes his ruling after this.
You stay out the way, let your husband learn some more man training from his dad so he can give it to your boy. So the both of you don't have a whole hell of a lot of grief.
Your Honor.
So the total is $24.98.
Thank you, Your Honor.
That'll be your award and your court cross. Be quiet and act like a man. Don't cry. Don't eyeball me. You knew this was coming when you did it.
He sat here and lied to you.
See, you punked out again, and punking out is exactly what it is because you didn't do the man thing. So you can learn to be a man. It's hard being a man. It's 24/7 for every day of your life, and it doesn't go away. It gets worse. $2,498 in your cost.
Thank you, Your Honor.
And this courtroom is now in recess.
Well, it looks like Dad was willing to give his son more than one chance to right his wrong. He finally just got fed up with the lies. He wins. We'll be right back. We're back. The defendant not only put his dad in a bad situation with his credit, he deceived his own brother with the sale of that dirt bike. He only makes things worse at the end by calling his father a liar. His father is actually a winner of about $2,500.
For information on future cases,